I am Zhao the Artist, and today I'm going to explain to you contact points and other weirdly specific advice I learned while working on my 2D hand-drawn animated comedy tribute film. Contact points are whenever two objects in an animation come into, well, contact with each other. Well, this might seem subtle, since the amount of time a given object is physically in contact with another object is often relatively small. Believe me, if these are messed up for something like a walk cycle, oh boy, it will be very noticeable. On the other hand, if you get contact points right, your animation can look incredibly immersive. This is probably one of the reasons why sometimes you see TV shows draw characters walking without showing their feet, because if they do that, they don't actually have to worry about contact points.
That's understandable.
Alrighty, bringing things around to some animation that I actually made, we're going to talk about how I approached contact points for this animation, which is a walk cycle, for the opening establishing shot for the short film I'm working on. So right here, I'm going to hide this and show that we start with just the walk cycle on its own, with the character stationary in place. They're not actually moving horizontally. And that is a 8-frame loop. So if we go to the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it repeats. So that is all on 4s, 8 frames. And what we do is we're going to actually go all the way to the end of the animation, and I'm going to do this backwards. And the reason for that is I do very much care about that the character ends up here and that they travel some amount of distance in a certain amount of time, because I'm going to be playing music over this, but I don't actually care about this distance. It could be any distance. It doesn't matter to me. Normally you would want to plan like exactly the start and end points of your animation, but if you do care that a character needs to be in a location and you don't care the exact distance, you can start at the end and just see how far you go, which is what I'm going to be doing right here. So we're going to mark the back of the foot right here, where the back of the heel comes in contact with the ground, although technically it would be the back of the platform boots, because this character is wearing shoes like that. So we're going to enable keyframes and delete all those other ones. And what we're going to do is we're going to just line up the character with this point. And this will become very important when you get to the next frame. So right here, if I flick between these two, they should line up where it looks like the character is actually making a step. I think, yeah, this one, I think the foot gets a little closer. I was going a little bit off model, so that factors into it as well. But generally, it should be good enough. And we'll go to the next frame and just continue lining up the character's foot. Now this one's a little interesting because it's not actually the contact. The foot actually hasn't hit the ground yet, so you're going to want to place it in a way where the character would look like it's naturally about to step down on the point. Now we're going to go one more. Now this one, we actually have, we got to reference the other foot. So we're going to do a new point. Let's make it like red or something. And we'll go right here and we'll mark right here, because we're actually not tracking this foot anymore, because this foot is off of the ground. We're only tracking the foot that is currently on the ground. Then we go back, and this has to be moved forward slightly. So if we were to play these in sequence now, you can see that it roughly looks like the character is actually walking. So after you've done this for a little while, and your foot placements are looking all nice and solid, and you don't have feet that slide all over the place looking completely atrocious, congratulations! You have now successfully done some contact points for your animation.
The most important part of dance is music. So now let us listen to the music and identify the beats.
I would now like to talk about rhythm in animation. And it just so happens that a perfect example of what I want to teach you was uploaded just a few days ago.
One's on the bottom, strong is he. Two's in the middle, carrying three. Three's pretending not to be three kobolds in a trench coat. One's on the bottom, strong is he. Two's in the middle, carrying three. Three's pretending not to be three kobolds in a trench coat. One's on the bottom, strong is he. Two's in the middle, carrying three. Three's pretending not to be three kobolds in a trench coat.
I'd like to point out that this animation is only 8 drawings, and if we don't count the mouth opening and closing, it's only 4 drawings. That is a very small number of frames to finesse for a loop that lasts nearly the entire song. Now, why do I personally care about this? After all, there are tons of animations which are immensely beautiful, all across the spectrum of buttery smooth, fully in between with a new drawing every single one of those 24 frames per second. All the way to some of the choppiest stuff you have ever seen, yet somehow each individual frame feels alive. Well, I personally think having an animation be on beat is a very useful piece of a much larger puzzle. That puzzle being the subject of full limited animation. I'll link a live stream by Jeremy Polgar in the description if you want a proper introduction to this concept. But long story short, full limited animation is about doing more with less. It's a form of ruthless efficiency, which I find extremely fascinating. And I definitely want to do a deeper dive into this subject at a later date. But for now, it's safe to say that having an animation be on beat can be used to sell even a choppy motion, which can be immensely useful when you are an independent animator trying to tell a story with a very limited amount of time and resources. I'll also add that since the example I chose to show is a music video, the animation has a very literal reliance on rhythm, which is a very good way of getting the concept across before talking about less literal applications of rhythm within the context of animation. And since my animation isn't a music video, I actually use this idea or principle in a much less literal way. Notice how right here, when our character turns to reach and open the door, the timing is actually the exact same as the quote-unquote beats of our walk cycle. This timing makes the act of reaching for the door feel like a natural extension of the previous motion, and because it has a coherent sense of rhythm, even with a very limited frame rate, animated on 5s, it retains a sense of flow to it, despite not having a large number of illustrations per second. I would highly encourage you to think about your animations from a musical angle like this, as it can be very helpful. You can also make sounds or drum on your desk while you are playing back your animation. I don't know, something about hearing the timing musically just unlocks a different way of thinking about timing. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I hope you give it a try in your next project. And for now, that's all I got to teach you. As always, thanks for watching. Peace.